Hello. Okay, hello, fellow editors. How are you doing? We'll wait a few seconds or even more just to welcome the first comers. So if you're here, just drop me something in the comment, just as a warm-up, like your favorite TV show, for example, or just a favorite movie. We'll see if I know these or not. So just for Ricky is beautiful. Oh, hello, Charles. Hey, I don't know this one. Is it a film or the real? Well, I don't know this one as well. Nice. How about TV shows? Ricardo, nice to see you. Breaking Bad, yeah, that's classic. Actually, for me, I am kind of hesitating between Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul is a good one. I so much love it. Like, it's an amazing show, amazing in my opinion. Like the writers, the same writers as for Breaking Bad, are just phenomenal. What they're doing with Better Call Saul is just I love this show, seriously. Okay, so good to see you here. And basically the purpose of this live stream is just to talk, answer your questions you might have, any questions you might have in relate to the editing chef, because we're closing the gates. We're closing the gates quite soon, in actually 2 hours. So there is no much time left, but you can still enroll. And enrollment is time limited for a few reasons. Like the first one is I actually want to stop promoting the course and actually start being more engaged with the community at Discord and so on. And to talk about the editing chef, I could talk myself, but you've heard me. If you're on my email list or something like this, you're probably even tired with me, talking about the course already. So I thought it would be nice to have two of my students, of people who joined the editing chef course more than a week ago, who have kind of watched all of the lessons. Like one of them has watched all the lessons, the other one not all of them, but is quite advanced in is progressing quite well as well. So in a moment, we'll be joined by Kyle and later by Ricardo. Ricardo is already in the chat. Good to see you, man. Yeah, and just wanted to say that, we're kind of making a history here, because not only it's like the first public live stream for the editing chef community, but also for Cut to the Point channel overall. So, making history here. Very, very excited about this. It has been quite a challenge for me, to be honest, because I haven't streamed in the past. So it will be fun to see how I, succeed or fail, whatever, right? We'll have fun here. That's what we're about. Okay. Kyle, you're here with us. Awesome. Good to see you.
Can you hear us? How's it going?
Yeah. Hey, Kyle. So Kyle is an editor from Houston. Is that correct?
Yes.
But you're actually moving to LA, right? In October, is that?
Yeah, August, actually.
In August. Okay.
But yeah, just doing the whole big move of, doing a thing a lot of people dream of and giving my go at it. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. I actually linked Kyle's website in the description. So if you guys want to check his work, just visit the link in the description. Kyle, any specific, video or film of yours that you would recommend to the first viewers?
The next one I'm proud of, even though it's pretty old. I made it in 2013 when I was actually just kind of getting started with my career. The first day one is kind of interesting just because with all the COVID stuff in Texas, in our community, we this was like our first day of like going back with like online and everything. So like all the teachers were really nervous, and I was just there like following a school and some teachers to see like how it went. And they were all very nervous, but it seemed to go smoothly. But I think that one's kind of interesting just for the moment. So yeah, you can check those out.
Yeah, I've seen Next. So the story is there. So even though it's old, I wouldn't say that it's old because the story feels fresh, right? Even though you needed to edit it a while ago, and obviously you would probably do some things differently now, but still the story is on point. So that's a good one to watch.
I guess cameras I was using.
Yeah. Okay, so I can see that I've just checked before the meeting, before the live stream, that you're advanced in like you've watched 73% of the course.
Yes.
So basically, Kyle, like, give us your honest opinion, like your impression about the course, like, and also like if you could give us some context about your editing journey so far. So where are you at like right now, and then give me that honest opinion about the course.
I would say at this point, like I'm at the I'm a hustling videographer stage where I'm kind of doing a lot of a bunch of stuff. So I do like the real estate weddings, that kind of hustle to kind of just make some money so I can then put that into stuff that I really want to do. And so because I have all these different sorts of projects, it's very useful to not get overwhelmed by the amount of work that I have. So like getting some tips on like how to keep all these things organized, but something that's also like flexible. Like if I signed up for this course and it was really only about like people who do like TV films, then I would be kind of disappointed because it's like, well, I do all this other stuff. But no, it's like you can find all these useful tips. Like if you're a beginner to like you're in advanced stage, has been doing this for 20 years. I really think your things that you came up with are like really, really good. Cause I kind of pride myself on like how organized I am. Like I come up with my own kind of things that I think are pretty good, and like tons of good information, I think for sure. Like I said, the tips are really good. And you like get to the point with your videos, which is cut to the point. But I mean, there's so much packed into like those like 5 to 10 minute videos. Like you don't really, you have like some personality, make some jokes and stuff, but like the amount of stuff that's coming at you is, it's like a lot. And it's good. Like you pace yourself pretty good. And then you also give us material that I've like found very useful as well. And also like I'm kind of someone who enjoys a sort of like, I guess, like self-help or like, how can I improve as like a person or just the outside of life. And I think you give a lot of good tips on that too, of like approaching work in a certain way. You're not like saying, hey, just constantly be working. Like you make it a point to be like, no, you need to like find time for like your family and friends and outside of everything. So I thought that's like really good too, ways that you can find that balance, because it is very difficult in like the faster paced world that like we live in. Oh, and also like I think this really prepares me for that transition of like what I'm trying to do. I think it gives me kind of an edge of over other people that like don't have these kind of tips for sure. And then also the community is really good. I've been surprised by like just how much I've really been enjoying that. Like the quality of like the editors in here are really good. It would kind of suck if like I'm not the best by any means. So if I was in there and like better than everyone else, I'd be like, man, this is pretty this is like not good. But I mean, there are so many people in there that are like better than I am, of course. And then, but they're also like real open to helping one another. Like everyone's can help each other, and everyone's really like warm and inviting, and that can be tough over online stuff, like where we're at. I've really enjoyed that. And then the one thing that I think that could improve is I do think, like I said, there is a lot of info coming at you. And sometimes like the walkthroughs of like do X, Y, and Z on a certain thing, and maybe a thing that I'm not familiar with, or even in Premiere, which I'm like really into Premiere. I've been using it most of my career, and sometimes those like lessons things go like a little fast for me, but I mean you can always just rewind. But I think maybe just a couple more details and some stuff, but you can eventually figure out. That's my one.
Yeah, for those details, I also tried to include these PDF files that kind of go into, a little bit more detail about where to click, where to actually click, right? So
totally.
Stuff like that, because the videos are, I wanted the videos to be about concepts. Yeah, that was kind of my highlight goal to, I didn't want them to be limited for people who work on certain kind of videos or that work in certain NLE. I wanted to be kind of, even though someone is working in Resolve, he will still find that video useful, even though I'm showing it on Premiere, right? Because it's more about concept than about where to click. So that was kind of my thinking behind it. And Absolutely. Yeah, man, I also have like imposter syndrome myself. In the community, because like, for example, Ricardo, who will join us in a moment, like Ricardo works as an editor for 20 years. 20 years ago, I was like, oh, I don't want you to even think of that. But I was at school, okay? But let's not go into detail. But yeah, so, I have an imposter syndrome myself. Like, for example, Arusha, another like amazing woman who joined the course. She's not an experienced editor, but she's DJA assistant director. So she has like whole life of experience of being an assistant on set. And like her stories she shared in the Discord group, like are amazing stories. Like we were like, you should start the podcast actually. And I will go back to her with that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's so many different people in there, like all sorts of different types of editors. The Rubik's Cube documentary, Chris, right?
Chris.
Yeah,
awesome.
He's in there. He's made an incredible documentary. There's just such good quality people in there for sure. And as a teacher, I know how tough it is to create all this video content to like teach everyone. So yeah, it's tough, and you do a really good job.
Thank you. Which lesson did you find the most interesting from the ones you already saw?
Which lesson did I find?
Which lesson? Yeah, if you were to choose, if you remember them, of course.
The one I liked the most?
Yeah.
Probably like workflow habits. That one's really good. And then like the keeping the projects organized. So I'm actually involved in like another course where we have to do a documentary, and it's funny, I've seen so many people complain.
The Go-To Editor by Sven Pape, right? Yeah, that's a very good course. I recommend it to everyone as well.
Yeah, another really good course.
Sven himself said that the Editing Chef would be a great companion to his course, and
absolutely,
which is like the biggest, like so sweet. These words like are like honey for my ears. So
totally. And he's got a documentary in there where I've seen people in the Discord complain with like, oh my God, this is like so much material that's like being thrown. And then, some people aren't interested in the topic and all that sort of stuff. But like this course has really allowed, I've like just started it, and I've already been able to use a lot of the like getting organized with the story in mind, and all the good tips you give on like how to approach telling a story, writing it all out before you start. And organizing it that way. So then once you get all that material, you know where to put it all. And then it kind of just you can tell it yourself. It kind of reveals itself way easier than if, doing it the way that I would like used to do it. So it's already within days, very useful. And I got through that 73% in I think like 3 or 4 days. Like I just could not stop watching it. It's very engaging stuff. It's
awesome.
Not boring.
Awesome, great to hear. By the way, have you done the exercise about the pancake timelines?
I have. I did hear about that from Sven on Go-To Editor, but yeah, you definitely like elevated the whole pancake stuff for sure. It's just all the other weird different stuff.
I actually have a public video about pancake timelines on YouTube, but this one is like pancake timelines 2.0. So that was my goal. Like I wanted to be like more in depth than the public one on YouTube. I published like 2 years ago. Yeah, and like basically with the exercise files you get, you can master this technique for basically very convenient editing between the timelines.
Yeah, I think you've tackled the pancake timeline. I think you've covered about just about everything you can do. So
that was the goal.
yeah.
Okay. One more question before we actually we'll see if we have any questions in the chat in a moment. By the way, guys, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. So one more question to you. Is there any topic you'd like me to add to the course later? Because, you know, I actually want to, before I relaunch the course in, you know, in a few months, I don't know when exactly, but probably in September, maybe a little bit earlier, I'm not really sure. But when I relaunch it, I want to be, you know, I want the course to be even better than it is right now. So is there any topic you think I could add to the course? You haven't watched all of the lessons yet, but is there anything you can think of?
Man, put me on the spot.
Yeah.
I would say, I guess maybe sort of specific organizational tips for, like, okay, say you do narrative documentaries. Like, if you do documentaries, try, like, do this kind of organizational style. Like, maybe talk to some documentary editors who, like, pride themselves on, like, I have some really good ideas on how to, like, organize something. Or even like someone who's like doing real estate or weddings too, like, just good ideas on how to organize your workflow to better make those specific types of niches like really, really good. I think that's
awesome idea.
Yeah.
Awesome idea. I also like talked to Liam and Brock, who were the first to finish the course. Actually, we won't talk with them today, but I talked to them one-on-one once they finished the course, and they both wanted me to add a lesson about another lesson about storytelling, like, you know, more specific lesson about storytelling with the example on screen. So that's definitely something I will try to add for the upcoming release. And by the way, of course, if you sign up, like, if anyone signs up like today, you get any future updates. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that is a good idea. I think storytelling is like endless. You can always, everyone's trying to figure out storytelling, you know, like
yeah.
So.
yeah. Like I always, maybe not always, but I like to say that there are like 3 pillars of successful editing career. The first one is storytelling, like, you know, the narrative work, right? How you kind of progress information throughout the piece. The second one is collaborating skills, like how you deal with a director or stuff like that. And the third one is actually what I try to teach in the Editing Chef, which is like being focused on what you're doing, being productive, streamlining the process, because very often it actually has a very close connection between the creative thinking as well. You know, when you're organized, like, you know, it's much easier to come up with great ideas. When your project is a mess and when you don't really like recall, when you don't record like your initial feelings about the footage you're seeing and so on, you won't get that creativity out of it to the highest possible, you know.
Absolutely. Outcome. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like playing the piano. Like, if you know exactly where to put your fingers and all the keys and how to get there quick, that's when you can really start thinking of all the good ideas, because all those things are like accessible. You know, you're not constantly just like frustrated, and like your stress levels way less too, which you think of more creative stuff when you're in that zone as well. So yeah, I mean, I really do think this course is super essential for anyone who wants to be a good editor.
Awesome, that was the goal. Anyway, I'm still like getting, you know, first impressions from the students, and I'm very happy and like keen to hear about any improvement areas they want me to implement in the future. Okay, before we go, Kyle, before Ricardo joins us, let me just see in the chat if we have any questions. Oh, hey Dan. Dan is my friend, also client. I can see he's in the chat. Good to see you, man. Okay, so we have a question about editing techniques. Well, that's kind of a broad question. So if you could kind of specify it a bit. After Ricardo talks about his impressions about the course, I will talk a little bit about one of the lessons from the course. So it is kind of an editing technique as well, the Hemingway rule. Have you watched the video about Hemingway rule?
I think that
Already?
is like the last one that I watched.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, I don't think we have very specific questions at this point, but we'll come back to the questions like Joel, who is our moderator. Are you a moderator actually? Yeah, who is a moderator in the course. He will put me like the questions I should answer in a document. So we'll come back to those. So
yeah, totally.
We're waiting for Ricardo now. Kyle, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining, for giving me your honest opinion about all of it. Yeah, it was a pleasure, man.
Awesome. It was a pleasure talking to you. And like, seriously, like I would not be here if it wasn't like good. So like, I'm just happy that I could help you in a way that this course helped me. So
thank you, and see you in another live session inside the course, right? Because we do have these live sessions. You attended one already, so we talked before, but I haven't talked with Ricardo yet because he hasn't joined the previous the first live session. So so I will have the first chance to talk to Ricardo now. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye, Kyle.
Bye.
Bye, Ricardo.
We have great timing.
I know.
Good to see you, Ricardo.
Hello. So, how are you doing?
Doing okay. So you're in Germany right now, right? But you're from Chicago originally.
Correct. I'm originally from Chicago, and then I moved to Denver for about 10 years before I moved basically out overseas to Germany.
Yeah, awesome. By the way, I will also leave your website, your link to your website in the description. So anyone who's watching, if you want to see what Ricardo is working on, has been working on, just check the link in the description. Ricardo, you have been editing Holding These Moments, which is a documentary you're not only edited, but also co-directed, right?
Correct.
For 4 years.
Yeah, the project started 4 years ago, and then we just completed it basically last summer. It came out in October, but the picture was locked probably months before that. But then if you've ever worked on something that is going to be, outputted to the masses on a streaming platform, there's a lot more work afterwards that is not just editing. So yeah, it took a little bit while to get out. But then within that 4 years, it was a lot of life getting in the way, being lazy, people just not being, it was a challenge working with some people. So, but considering what a lot of what it takes to do some documentaries, 4 years wasn't that long after all. But so yeah. Still,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
It's longer than I've been running the channel, so that's awesome. And you've been editing for how long?
I've been editing probably since high school. So that I graduated high school in 1995. So probably over 20 years that I've been editing, probably professionally for also over 20 years. But yeah, it's been definitely a long time. Like I said, I don't,
Amazing.
Well, no, I've been editing. I started editing tape to tape before like there was real like digital programs to make things much easier. So yeah.
Awesome. So, I already said to Kyle, you probably heard about it, that I have kind of, imposter syndrome, mostly to you and a few other,
I do. Every project I start, I have imposter syndrome. So it doesn't matter who the client is or what it is. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Do I have what it takes? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I've done this a lot of times. So it kind of works out.
Fortunately, I think it's actually a good thing to have, imposter syndrome, because it tells that you're still growing, you're still learning, you still kind of have that mindset of developing your skills. So if someone doesn't have imposter syndrome, probably it's because they think they've done everything they could do. to improve
Yeah.
yourself. So
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is these programs that we work with now, Premiere and After Effects and, Final Cut and whatever NLE you have are just so deep. I mean, just based off of even with the editing stuff, like a lot of the stuff that you had told me, like I knew, but then there was a bunch of stuff that I didn't know, which was amazing. So I was like, oh, and it was kind of like I was sitting there, listening to you and be like, I know that move and I know that move. And then you'd bring something else. I was like, oh, I don't know that move. And I'm going to start using that move and then I write it down and stuff. So, I mean, and I don't know if that's anything to do with imposter syndrome, but it's like you said, like the growth of becoming like the master of your craft and like always improving yourself regardless of what it is.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So Ricardo, if you were to choose like one feature, your favorite feature about the editing chef, what would it be?
This is the first course, we'll say, that I've ever taken. I don't usually do I'll do a lot of online tutorials, but I think yours is the first channel that I've ever subscribed to like for kind of like professional development in a way. So I'm not used to this. And like I didn't even go to school for editing. I was going to be a computer animator, like a animation student, and then it didn't work out. So I just was already editing as I was going to school. So for the most part, I learned everything just doing it without any schooling or whatever. So this is like the first time that I've actually taken a course. And I really like all of it because it's engaging. It's not too long in the tooth. Like you don't meander. I think Kyle said that you kind of cut to the point where you're like, this is what this is about, and you make it entertaining enough. And then, but still also you've captured my attention with interesting anecdotes as well as this is what we're talking about. And then you're like on to the next thing. And then you've got like materials to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is so you can see what I'm doing. So it's kind of like a base. So, which is really good because I really get imposter syndrome if I'm like put on the spot and I don't have kind of like a frame of reference. And with you putting stuff like that in some of the lessons, it gives me a frame of reference where then I can be like warm up to it rather than being like, okay, I got to start all of this. I got to do this on my own and I got to figure it out. But since you're kind of like giving those references, it makes it much easier and it makes it a lot easier to learn and kind of like elevates my game at the same time. So I'm like, okay, I know these things and I can do them and it makes it easier and more fun. So I don't know if that really answers the question. So I like all of it. There's not one thing. A lot of the lessons have been like, oh, this is really interesting. This is really cool. It's very inspiring from the stuff about the way that you basically are preparing for projects and, with metadata and tags and stuff like that, preparing until like, okay, now you got to get into the mindset of editing. I think there's one section where you're talking about like, okay, what you're supposed to be doing, but either you have the internet right at your fingertips or there's a movie that you want to watch and stuff like that. And like getting in that mode of, okay, now I got to sit down and like hammer this out. I think that you have lessons in there that help with that. Be like, okay, I need to do this. I need to focus and go. And so I can get it done so that I can get into that zone as well as like get this done, especially for a client. So I think there's that's what I like most about it is that that mindset doesn't just translate into me editing, but also beyond with like, okay, now if I want to organize myself in a project, it's be the same thing with my life. I want to like block things out. How am I going to do this? And then basically do it. And that expands outside of just editing. And it kind of me being who I am, I've got my fingers in like so many different pies at like so many different times that I'm like, I don't have enough time in the day to work on this. Like, I'm going to bed at 2:00 in the morning and I'm waking up at 6:00 in the morning just because I want to do all these things. And they're not just editing, it's just like in life. So there are things that you, I guess, teach within the editing chef that kind of expands that and it kind of like makes things a lot easier for me to like not lose my mind so that I can be a better editor and kind of in a way be a better person and do the things that I want to do to like make myself smarter and happier and whatever, which I don't know, maybe that sounds a little bit melodramatic, but It's the truth, man. It's the truth.
Yeah. Basically, I want to take the holistic approach, because sometimes I get a question like, what is your workflow? Yeah, it's a question I sometimes get. The thing is that my workflow is all the things I talk in the course, because it's what people think, most people think about when they say workflow is how you organize things on the timeline. But for me, workflow is actually everything I do from the moment, I start thinking about the project to the moment it's delivered to the client. So it's like, it's prep work, like basically even like setting up your work environment. It's things like, like developing a good mindset for the project, visualization techniques, also like, starting editing on day-to-day basics. Also like client feedback, how you deal with it and so on. It's all part of a workflow, in my opinion. So that was kind of my, my approach with the course. I wanted it to be holistic, like, to take these lessons that, for example, there is a lesson, like quite a long one, to be honest, like it has like 9 minutes about mindset, and I was like, when I was like, actually like coming up with idea for this lesson, I was like, oh my goodness, will people actually want to listen about a soft skill lesson? Because it's totally soft skill. It's not connected to any software, to any like storytelling technique, anything. It's just about the mindset of editor. Because I actually think that if you take the holistic approach, you need to talk about mindset as well. What is your mindset? How you think about yourself as an editor and so on, right? Stuff like that. Okay, so I was very interested to hear that it's the kind of the first course you took. So a question popped in my head. Did you have any specific hesitations in your mind before you decided, okay, I will enroll in the Editing Chef?
I mean, not really. It wasn't something where I was just like, I'm doing this, and then I clicked it, and I was like, all right, let's do this. It was, with the way that you, for lack of a better term, the commercial that you made for it to like hype it up, like this is what you're going to learn, this is what you're going to do, was stuff that I was like, well, this is all stuff that I want to be more efficient, because through the course of my career, I've always prided myself on being quick and fast. But it's like at the same time, it's redundant. It's like I know it's just the same moves over and over again, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to know more moves. I want to know if I can make myself quicker. I want to be able to like cut these things and whatever. Like I already do a lot of keyboard shortcuts that I'm like, it's muscle memory. So, but if I could do more, especially with stuff that I don't usually do anyway, especially when it comes to, like you said, preparing for a project, like logging footage and stuff like that stuff is so mind numbing that it's like, I want to do something that's going to make it a little bit quicker and a little bit easier to work through and stuff. So, so there wasn't too much of a hesitation. I mean, the only hesitation was like, this is the first time I've ever done something like this. But at the same time, it was just like kind of like weighing the pros and cons. It's like, okay, well, it's this amount of money, which is me not spending any money on like really on anything. It's like, well, is it worth it? And then you're like, well, then you get all of these things and I'm adding more. And it's like, this is great. And there's a community. It's like, well, however much it is, it's like that pays for itself. If I start, on any job that I work, that I utilize any of these skills that you've now, expanded my mind on, it's easily going to pay for itself. So that's like not an issue. So once that, I was like, well, it's a no-brainer to go for this. Then it just made it easier, and there was no hesitation. And then I was like, all right, this is. And then with like the community, Kyle mentioned it, like the community aspect of like meeting all these different people that are, I'm a 20-year veteran. There's other people that aren't, but also at the same time, a lot of these people are like heavy hitters. Like we talked about Chris Olsen, who was, he has a TED Talk. He's got a documentary on Netflix. He did his own documentary that's on YouTube and stuff like that. And then there's other people who worked on other projects that maybe haven't seen the light of day yet, but they've, been in the industry for so long that, their knowledge is just like off the charts, where, we'll learn something from them too. Like that community and that networking aspect is also super important.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's like out of any job that I ever do, it doesn't matter what the specific video is, whether it's like a really mundane corporate video or something as fun as like doing a music video or like working on, you know, like a documentary or something like that. Like as long as you have like a good crew of people that you're working with, it doesn't matter what the job is because it's going to be fun. It's going to be like, okay, well, you know, if I was working with you on something, be like, well, of course, I want to do cool stuff with Peter. So this is awesome. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's not cool, it's like, I know that there are good people surrounding me. And I know that's what I feel like with like the community that is within Editing Chef, is that it's a bunch of good people who like to go do cool things. And then, you know, when you're excited to work with people or inspired by people, it just makes things that much easier.
Yeah. You know, we had the first live session. Kai was one of the participants, and you know, after we've had 2 questions and we answered both of them, it took us 1 hour to cover 2 questions. And you know, I was kind of thinking to myself, my goodness, I'm learning from these sessions as well. So that's awesome. You know, that's amazing. That's my favorite part, to be honest. You know, just the community factor, because it's always like you can always get like in my opinion, you can grow from listening to people with less experience as well, because usually they have different perspective on some of the topics.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
and I don't think that, and the other thing is, I mean, you just kind of hit the nail on the head with that, the different perspective. And then just like, I know some people that get real grouchy about people that are younger than them, you know, drop a knowledge on them and then have to be begrudgingly like, oh, well, he knows more than me and I can benefit from this, where it's just like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's like everybody has a different perspective on everything, no matter what. Even if you do have even if the perspective kind of like runs parallel, there's going to be some offshoot where it's just like, oh yeah, I never even thought of that. So
exactly.
to me, that stuff is like, that's exciting.
Yeah, to me as well. Okay, but I need to ask, what do you think could be improved? As I said to Kyle, I'm thinking about making the course better over time. So do you have anything specific in mind?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, that's kind of a cop out, but at this point right now, like I said, this is like the first thing, and there isn't anything that stands out to me that it's like, oh, you're losing me, Peter, you're losing me. So I think for the most part, I think it's pretty solid. I mean, I'm interested to see more of, you know, what you add to it as well.
Yeah.
But I think there was a question before, like editing techniques. I think that if I agree with Kyle that this is kind of like, it doesn't matter if you're a video or a film editor, if you're a narrative editor, or if you're a documentary editor, that you can take something from this for people with high experience and low experience. Like, I think that this would be it's beneficial for everybody, especially for people that are just coming into it, because this is basically like, there's a lot of good habits in this that editors should be learning off the bat that will make them stronger editors in the long run.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you wanted to like maybe talk more about editing techniques, because I know there's like certain formulas, like obviously, I don't know what the name of the formula is, but like if you're going to have a close up, you got to follow it up with like a wide shot or a medium shot, and then follow it up with the opposite of that. Like there's a formula with that within the industry everybody uses, which kind of falls in line with what's the book? The book you're always talking about, not David Manning's book, Blink of an Eye. Yeah, so like that people are like noticing that it's like easy. Basically, it's easy on the eyes. So I mean, stuff like that, because that also helps. Because I think I was talking to somebody the other day that's like, he has edited videos before, but he's not in the same. He doesn't consider himself an editor. And he's like, I'm editing this documentary. I'm starting from scratch. I don't know what to do. And he's like, basically, like, how do you do it? And it's like, I can't tell you how to do it. I can tell you what I do. And then, you know, I almost had that. I basically had to tell him, like, what you mentioned within Editing Chef, like when it comes to an edit, or either you mentioned it in Editing Chef, or it was in the live stream that you had, where it was, it's something that you just feel that after repetition and after you start getting used to it, then you know, like, okay, there's a rhythm to every edit, and then you can basically like,
although I'm a strong believer that it can be actually quantified, you know, so that my point usually with this question is that while for most editors, once, you know, they work for many years, it is about how it feels. Mm-hmm. But at the background of their mind, there are actually like the rules you kind of follow. So I think that it is you can quantify it in a way. So yeah, that will be the topic I will definitely try to explore in the future as well. Awesome, thank you for the idea.
You're welcome.
Anything else you'd like to add, Ricardo?
I kind of, I'm honestly, I'm really happy that I signed up for it, and I'm already taking away, benefits. I'm actually just started working on a project today where I started using Kino, and it really helped in regards to logging footage and stuff like that. So that already helped out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've written down a bunch of stuff that you had said within Editing Chef, and I'm utilizing it even with, just like with everything that I'm doing in regards to like planning out my day and stuff, so that I can like touch all the bases that I want to touch and be like, okay, I feel fulfilled with that I've done everything that I have, because I'm so used to like writing out this tome of a list and then hoping that I get to like at least 2 of them on it. But now I can get to 3 or 4 of those things, so I'm happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. What did I want to say? You lost me. Yeah, so okay, so basically we'll go to the questions in a moment. But yeah, I know. I wanted to say about Kino. So Kino is actually a bonus you get with the course, right? So you get it for, it's a time-limited license of the premium version of Kino. So unlimited license costs $350, but you get it for 6 months just by enrolling in the course. And by the way, I don't know if it will be like in the future launches of the course. So if anyone is like, I don't know if I should join right now or in the future, probably better to do it now, because I'm not sure if I will have that bonus in the future as well. But you get it now, and you get also Soundly. Have you used Soundly?
I have not yet.
That's an amazing software. You'll love it as well. Like there's just these few pieces of software that I absolutely adore, and both Kino and Soundly are on the list.
Okay.
And yeah, because because the founders know that I love these tools, they were keen to give me these bonuses to give away to students of the Editing Chef. So that's an awesome opportunity in my opinion, because both these softwares like Kino is awesome. Soundly is a platform for adding sound effects. It's also like a library with cloud library of sound effects with all sorts of ambient sounds, Foley sounds, and so on. So it's an amazing piece of software, seriously. And you get it for 3 months as well. So try it out, Ricardo. You love it.
I'll get into it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you for giving me your opinion about the course, and see you inside. Like we're having another live streaming session, private one for the Editing Chef in a week.
Great.
So you can register for that, and hope to see you there.
Yeah. All right. See you next time. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.
Okay, guys. So I'll have a look at the questions now. Do we have any questions? Joel, I can't see questions here. Okay, so okay, so is this course more for video editing or film editing? So I think both Ricardo and Kyle actually answered that question. It's for both, because these concepts are not really limited to one genre. I think you can apply them to anything, even to a wedding video, to a corporate video, to a commercial, anything like that. Some of the videos are not actually about the things you do in software, as we already said. Like these are things that we actually do on daily basis. And one of the examples, I'll just give you one, is the concept I actually kind of learned about when I was studying the writer's block. So, it's a kind of similar thing, or the writer's block versus editor's block. And the concept comes from Ernest Hemingway, who had this rule that he always likes to write his novels and stop once he knew what the next paragraph would be about. And once I heard about this concept, I was like, how can I implement it into the editing sessions? And I actually struggle with starting the editing sessions quite a lot. At least that used to be always my biggest struggle. So once I found out that once I get into the zone and I start to edit, do it for half an hour, then it's kind of easy for me to do it for 2 or 3 more hours. But the starting of the editing session is kind of difficult for me. So that launch of the session is where I wanted to implement Hemingway's rule. And how do I do it? So for example, let's say I'm working on just watching the dailies, okay? Let's say interviews. And I have 2 hours of interviews. I just need to go through them and I'm adding the notes as I go. We have the lesson on that in the Editing Chef as well. And before I'm done, before I go through all of the dailies, I will leave myself like 10 minutes left to go through the next day. And the remaining time I will just use to think about how will I actually, which quotes I actually will use in the sync, in creating a sync for the narrative, for the story I'm trying to tell. And doing that, you kind of starting that difficult process of, building a narrative and giving yourself at the same time an easy start the next day, because going through the 10 minutes of interviews is quite easy, but it gives you that first mile, basically like a warm up to your editing session. And I find that once you do it, it's actually easier to progress with something more brain like that takes more of your brain resources, basically, right? Like storytelling, like narrative work, and so on. So that's the approach of the Hemingway rule. We have a full lesson on that in the course, and that's one of the things I do on daily basis. So it's, in my opinion, it works both for documentaries, for videos, for film. Right now, I'm working on 2 short films, but most of my work is still corporate videos and also like kind of unscripted documentary style commercials, I would say. I don't know if it's the good name for this project, but something like this. So these concepts apply to any of these, and the concepts of labeling, organization, stuff like that, all of the things I'm talking about still apply to anything you're working on. Editor's block, like pre-commitments, perfectionism, dealing with client feedback, all of that applies to basically any video you're working on. Yeah, so I hope that answers the question. Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm not seeing any specific questions here. Okay, I'm not good at reading chat. I know it. Sorry. Just having this white screen over here and so on. I'll be better next time. I will learn my lesson, okay? I promise. Okay, guys. So before I leave, before I go and leave you with the decision, again, you have less than 2 hours now. I need to launch the course. I need to close the course because the launch, because it's time for me to move on with the content for the channel. And if you're frustrated with all of that messaging for the last 3 weeks, good stuff is coming. So I'm actually right now I'll take a short break from making YouTube videos because I want to plan the content for this year. And this year will be totally different. So I'm very excited about this because one of the things I will try to do this year is not to publish tutorials. I don't know, maybe you're a little bit disappointed, but that's the move I want to make. That's the change I want to make on this channel. Because basically I realized that, it's time for me to move on from just streamlining the process in the software to just exploring what editing is all about, the art of film editing. That's what I hope the videos I will produce this year will be about. Not only film editing, but also video editing, documentary editing. So these will be the topics I will try to focus on this year. And it also means I will publish a little bit less videos this year, probably one video a month. So less videos, but at the same time, it also means that I will have more time to spend on each of them. So that's the goal. I want to focus more on these videos to make them better and more useful, basically serving better you guys. That's the goal. We'll see how it goes. So that's my goal for the strategy for content strategy this year. And by the way, once I'm done with with this launch, which will again happen in less than 2 hours, I also have idea for 2 products I want to work on this year. And one of them will be free product. It will be a short ebook. I already have one ebook, which is like about best practices for Premiere Pro users. But this one will be a little bit different. It won't be about specific NLE. It will be about kind of commandments of editors. So that's the ebook I want, the ebook I want to work on this year. And again, the plan, at least for now, is that I will give it away for free. It shouldn't be like, the Editing Chef took me a long time to prepare, to create. And also it takes me time to run it. It's not the course that you actually like buy. And, once you bought it, I'm done with you. No, it's not. I still engage with you. You can access like live stream, private live streams we have in the group. You have the community inside the Editing Chef. So it's not this kind of a course. But the ebook will be different. It will be a little bit less work, it will require less work on my end, and I'm thinking about giving it away for free to the community of editors. And the second one, I'm thinking about is another course, but this one much shorter and also much more affordable. So I want this course to be cheap. So that's the goal for this year, also to create a cheap course, but also a good one. And if it will be a good one, how can it be cheap? I will just make it short. So the plan is to have very short, like 1-minute lessons that cover one specific idea about editing techniques. So we had the question about editing techniques. Of course, that's such a broad topic. I can't just answer it right now because yeah, it's too broad. But that's my goal for this course I will be working on this year. It will take me probably a whole year, so it's not something that's coming soon, but that's a goal. That's my goal to create it. I already have both names already. So the course will be called the Editing Quirks, based on like particles. And the ebook will be called Editing Bushido, which is the way of the way of life by samurais in Japan culture. Anyway, so these are the names of these products I will be working on this year, alongside free content I will be putting on YouTube. And again, it's a big shift I'm making this year. I realized that this year, I spent a lot of the videos, which I hope were useful, but a lot of them I was kind of rushing, and I don't want to do it anymore. I want to have more time to work on each of these, on each video I'm publishing on YouTube. That's the idea. We'll see how it goes. Okay, guys, it was a pleasure. Sorry again about not being very good with the chat, with following the chat. I'll try to improve myself in the future. It was my first live stream ever. Let me know how it was. I know it could be better, but it wasn't so bad, was it? Okay, have a good one. Have a good one. You have all of the links in the description. Have a good one, guys. Keep editing. Bye.